at present floating, but I'm just saying that if we want to have, say, only 15 or 20 indicators for 169 targets, this is the kind of indicators which we should have. Now I open the floor for questions. My request would be, a question should be a question. And if you are, please desist from asking multiple questions, because let the question answer session be inclusive for others also who want to ask a question.
Yes, please.
Some studies have shown that 52% of the paid activities in this economy can possibly be automated using technologies which are currently being demonstrated. So what does this mean for any kind of upskilling of the population or redeployment from industrial manufacturing, given the low skill profile of the country?
To someone else, you already asked one. Any hands? You can go ahead, please.
Like we are, sir, having 3 months courses under skill development programs, and ITI is like having 1 year program. But the people who are doing their courses in ITI, even they are not employed. But that we expect after doing 3 months of course, people can be employed for sustainable livelihood, sir. This is the question to Mr. Reddy.
See, you have raised the basic question of the sustainability in the planning process and the program of formulation process. I am not the right man to answer that question. That question should be answered by the Niti Aayog. Only they can only answer. They are the competent. But yes, so what I feel, our sectoral programs are the policies whatever have been made so far, they are lacking on that basically. So my suggestion is that should be like our whatever the programs addressing the poverty or any other issues, the sustainability aspect should be inbuilt within the framework of that program. But I will request the Niti Aayog to supplement me for any other thing.
Okay, the question on jobs, fourth generation industrial revolution. I think there are going to be a number of jobs in fields which we have not heard, which we have not even heard today. Just imagine when computers were coming, and there was so much of agitation 30 years back in India that after computers, LIC employees had gone on strike and so many things had happened. Secondly, automation throws up many opportunities for increasing well-being of human beings. The kind of big data analysis, the kind of opportunities it throws up, that a patient goes for some illness and he's examined and the data tells that genetically you are more prone to this kind of cancer, which otherwise 5 years later someone else would have pointed out. And the kind of help because of this small piece of information he gets treated, recovers, remains an asset to the society. So there are very larger issues and larger benefits. I think Mr. Reddy will ask the third one.
The answer is yes and no, in the sense, see, jobs are also job role specific. Let's take the case of industrial sewing machine operator who stitches shirts in an export-oriented company. Typically, the 90% of jobs in that factory are in sewing machine operator. And industry does the training not more than 15 days to make them productive. They measure in terms of productivity. So before the person is put on actual assembly line, the person needs to be 55% productive. Then the person is put on. So it is not a function of the cotton technologies, then the background of textile industry, which otherwise is taught. So in those job roles which are highly specific, the short-term programs are the norm. Actually, that's the way to do it. And they're good for the poor also, because there is no point in wasting his time for 2 years and where he could have got the same job with 1 month training in the same salary level. And second, but certain job roles, the short-term programs may not be good enough. Let's take the case of welding engineering, because there is also career progression. Today, if you are doing only one level of welding, there is something called 6G welding. And where 6G welding requires not only just welding, it also requires material science understanding, requires mathematics, because at that level you need to be understanding the drawings and this and that, for which I think long-term programs are good. My view is that both can coexist, not at the exclusion of each other.
Like, sir, there is a problem of hand pump repair in like Rajasthan. The hand pump mystery program, like suppose it is a short-term program, which will be like helpful for them to, run the program of this type. Like, hand pump mystery program, like hand pump repair के लिए जो program होते हैं सर, उसमें क्या होता है कि लोग textual part तो ज़्यादा रखते हैं, practical part कम रखते हैं.
आजकल YouTube में पिक्चर देख के बच्चे लोग they do every possible kind of art or including bomb making in some cases. The point is, and it's a learning ability. I think it's highly job role specific. Based on that, they should be categorized in short-term learning.
Yeah, but my intention is that like theoretical aspects should have been given less time in also comparison to practical aspects. Sir. That is.
I just want a small remarks on the question which was asked. I am Ashok Jain from Niti Aayog. Is there a question anybody is asking? Then I will talk later. Regarding, you had asked a question about the sustainability aspects on each indicator. I mean, you are right for that matter, but what happened, I'll just tell you. There are certain global indicators. And the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation did an elaborate exercise, very elaborate exercise. Mr. Krishna Kumar himself was involved with that. And all those indicators were discussed with all the ministries, and they were shared with the states. And not only that, the MOSPI had put all those indicators on their website also. And they had asked the public comments that whatever you want to give. After doing that kind of exercise, then they finalize those indicators. And those indicators are also, basically, though they will get approved, but subsequently also if we are making a provision in that, the MOSPI is making a provision in that in case any change or any tweaking of any indicator is required subsequently, it can be done. It is possible. That's one point. Second thing, what my request to you is, because whatever the indicators are formulated, they are basically keeping in view the need and the requirement of the country, plus the global indicators, plus the feedback, whatever we got it. And those indicators have to be supplemented by the progress under various programs, what the state governments do have and what the Government of India does have the programs or so. Moreover, probably you may be aware that with the United Nations, MOSPI and NITI together, we are developing a dashboard, which will, where all these indicators will be reflected, and where the ministries plus the state governments and any other person whosoever is doing that they will be able to, put that data, so that we know exactly what's happening under each indicator or under each target. That's one. And second thing would be there will not be any physical, entry of the data. We'll try to connect them through the API. That's also one more thing. So what my request to you is that those indicators are available on the website, probably, or if not available, they will be coming very soon. You can have a look into that. Or I think if you go to the MOSPI website, because when they had put those indicators for the, comments from the public or from anybody, you can go through that, and if you feel that some tweaking is required or somewhere the sustainability aspect is not really done, you send your suggestions. We are absolutely open for any constructive suggestion. If it can be improved further, yes, we shall do that.
Automation and redundancy, and how do we address the issue of maybe skill development or employment, like that. Of course, that's going to be the reality, right? The joblessness is one aspect of it, and then also the redundancy because of the technological advancement. And that is going to definitely squeeze the employment generation in general, whether in the developed world or in the developing world. That's going to happen, right? And that will be the reality. So how do we address that? Of course, earlier we used to always talk in terms of full employment, or also very common thing was permanent job, right? Permanent job. Probably all those things would not be there. So in my view, because employment is going to shrink, right? Employment is going to shrink. So how do we therefore share that? So to me, so therefore it's one of a shared livelihood. Sharing employment, sharing livelihoods. It may not be that I will do same work for 8 hours, right? So maybe that 8 hours work would be done by maybe 2 persons, right? So it would be multi-skilling probably would be required. We may have to do multiple jobs because same job, this permanent full employment job, those kinds of things probably may not be available, right? And therefore it would be multi-skilling, sharing of livelihood, sharing of employment. That's what I visualize in the coming kind of a scenario. And then in terms of course, sustainability and the poverty issue, because sustainability as is commonly understood, at the core of sustainability is the issue of equity. It's both, of course, intergenerational and intergenerational equity. That's how sustainability is seen. So therefore, indicators of sustainability necessarily have to measure equity, right, of both the types. So automatically then they would be capturing that, the kind of concern that is being as addressed, that whether poverty and sustainability can be measured. Of course, one aspect of poverty is also inequity or inequality, which causes poverty. So therefore, sustainability goes with addressing equity, intergenerational, intergenerational. So equity measures have to be developed, and there are quite a number of equity measures already are there, and how best we can use them is the way forward.
Thank you, Mr. Shailendra, and I'm grateful to the panel and the audience, especially being again, I would like to thank especially because it was the first session after lunch and we had a very nice session. Thank you very much.
Building resilience to economic, social and environmental shocks and impact of climate change, which is a very important issue. The session would be chaired by Dr. Sharmila Mary Joseph. I request Madam to please come up on the dais. I would also request panelists, Dr. V. Tirupugga, Joint Secretary, Policy and Planning, National Disaster Management Authority. Sri Vishnupada Sethi, Managing Director, Odisha State Disaster Management Authority. FICCI would be represented by Mr. Abhay. Sri Ray Kancharala, National Manager, Humanitarian Response and DRR, Save the Children. And Dr. James Matthew, Deputy Director General from MOSPI.
Good evening, friends, and welcome to the last technical session, the fourth session of the day. The topic for discussion today for this session is building resilience to economic, social, and environmental shocks and impact of climate change. When we look at this, the topic of the session, basically it draws from goal 1.5 of the Sustainable Development Goals. And goal 1.5 specifically mentions that by 2030, we would build resilience of the poor and those in vulnerable situations and reduce their exposure and vulnerability to climate-related extreme events and other economic, social, and environmental shocks and disasters. So basically, when we look at this goal, this does not indicate the general term climate change. Climate change, as you know, comes in goal 13 of the Sustainable Development Goals. But from my understanding and from my perspective on the subject, this looks like an all-pervasive goal because it covers the main issue of building resilience of the poor and those who are vulnerable, and reducing their exposure and vulnerability to all these extreme events, maybe due to climate and due to other shocks, maybe environmental, social, and economic. So basically, if we look at goal 1.5, there are 5 main indicators which have been identified in the SDG and also in the list of draft indicators floated by MOSPI. I was just now also looking at the website of MOSPI. I don't know if the final indicators have been placed. I think it's only the draft which is there on the site. So the indicators for goal 1.5.1 looks at the number of deaths and missing persons and directly affected persons attributed to disasters per 100,000 population. 1.5.2 looks at the direct economic loss attributed to disasters in relation to the global GDP. 1.5.3 looks at the number of countries that have adopted and implemented national disaster risk reduction strategies. And 1.5.4 looks at the proportion of state governments that have adopted and implemented local disaster risk reduction strategies. So